how to increase your energy levels. Might be for work, that might be for private life, so you have energy in the evening to spend with your family or with friends or with your partner. And energy in terms of mental energy, but also physical energy. And I always, in the past, I thought those are not connected, they're different, but the mind and the body, mental capacity to work, to concentrate, and the physical stamina are extremely connected. They're very connected. Jim Kwik, who is a great memory coach, he talked about what's good for the heart is good for the brain. Heart and brain are connected because what your body is doing when you're moving is it pumps the lymphatic fluid throughout the whole body. If there's no movement, you can get lymphatic blocks. Body has problems with detoxing, right? The brain doesn't get the nourishment because the blood isn't pumping. So if you use your body, then your mind also works better. So there's an interesting connection there. So basically, what's the problem? What are we talking about? Problem is thank you very much. Problem is you're sluggish. Problem is your focus isn't clear. You can't maintain focus maybe. Or in the evening you want to work on your whatever side project, side gig, or on your company. You do something in the evening, or even you want to read, you want to study, you want to use your mind, learn, or go out and meet people, but there's no energy to do that because you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling tired, feeling sluggish. So what I want to talk about here is simple hacks that you can take. I'm just going to share basically from my own life what worked for me. I used to have terrible energy levels. I used to be sleepy all the time, sleepy in the afternoon, sleepy in the evening. It's no more like that. I'm very sharp. I have a lot of energy, a lot of physical energy, a lot of mental energy. And I know the main things that shifted that for me. So let's just get into that. So the obvious ones, right? Removing stuff that is not working for you. And there are some big things, especially with nutrition, that a lot of people have in their nutrition. And I'm gonna be straight. I mean, you don't have to follow this if you're like, no, Lucas, screw you, right? I don't want to live the boring life. I assure you, it's not boring. When you do that, when you get a taste for having that energy, feeling that healthy, vibrant energy in your body, you're gonna be like, no, screw this stuff. Eating that, the quick pleasure, that's not worth it for me to screw up my energy, right? So the big perpetrators there are sugar, obviously, right? Especially liquid sugar, drinking sugar. It's so bad. Let's not even start to get into that. I could talk for hours how bad that is. Insulin resistance screws up your brain, screws up the gut flora because of all the sugar. It promotes the wrong bacteria in the gut, makes you want to eat more actually. When you do that, impact on your mood, how your brain functions, it's wild, right? So sugar, getting rid of that. And for me, certainly flour, right? Flour and all the intense carbs like noodles, if you love your rice or whatever, it's your choice, but I've eliminated those. No more flour, no more sugar, right? No more bread. I don't eat bread. I used to love bread. I was like, just give me some bread, I would eat bread and butter and cheese, bread every day, right? But I kicked that. Then there were some cravings for a few months and I was like, ooh, I really want to eat some bread, But I stuck with it and now I don't even care. I don't need bread anymore. And my energy after doing that has increased like exponentially. For me, the flour, the bread, the carbs, they were screwing me up, Maybe some people, they can deal with that. They're fine, have high energy. Bless you, whatever works for you, right? Biodiversity, every body is different. But for me, that didn't work. If you're low on energy, if you don't know why, maybe kick the sugar, kick the flour, the bread, kick the fast food, no pizza, no burgers, like stuff like that. Clean up your diet. That's an easy win, right? Not pleasant to hear, maybe if your diet isn't good, but I'm here to tell you, if your diet is screwed up, it's gonna screw you over. So clean up your diet, right? Biggest thing for me. Then next one is physical movement, right? So many people, they think, doing exercise, it's so exhausting, right? Like people who are not used to exercise, they're like, yeah, now they're exercising, like, oh, this is actually exhausting. Yes, of course, takes energy to do exercise, right? There's like electric stimulation where you can like you put some, what is it called? Like electrodes or whatever to your body, and it kind of stimulates your muscles. You don't have to do anything. You just sit there, I think that's kind of retarded. If you like that, please don't be offended. If you're like, oh my God, I do these like electric workouts, I'm so muscular, it's so beautiful. Keep doing whatever works for you. But exercise is it's gonna take energy from you to do that. But there's an interesting thing that happens, because if you're not used to doing your regular exercise, you're like, yeah, no, if I start doing exercise, my energy levels are gonna go down because I use up all that energy on the exercise. But that's not actually how it works, because as you do more exercise, your body develops a greater capacity it kind of stores, or it produces more energy. It's crazy. But by doing exercise, not only do you get the boost after you did exercise, like your brain is more awake, your body is more awake, there's more energy that you can use, but also on a long-term time horizon, there's so much more energy in your body and also in your mind. And it's very counterintuitive. And when you're starting to do more exercise, to really make that a part of your life, it's counterintuitive. You're like, no, I'm gonna have less energy. But actually, you're gonna get more energy when you do that. I promise you, 100%, right? And then moving on to things like sunlight, Like sunlight is big. If you don't get natural sunlight, messes up your sleep. If you get blue lights late in the evening, messes up your sleep, right? I'm guilty of that sometimes. I like to write sometimes in the evening. I get really excited, but it's no good for me. I need to turn off the screens, better meditate, go for a walk, stuff like that in the evening. But the sunlight in the morning sunlight, Huberman talks about this. It's like 30, 60 minutes morning sunlight. It basically tells your body there's a part in the eye that is directly connected to the brain. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and it's part of the brain that regulates your circadian rhythm, your daily rhythm. And it tells your brain, hey, sun is out, let's wake up, Of course, it also reacts with the blue light, so that's the negative side of that. But getting out in the morning and getting sunlight, it's amazing. Exercise, I don't always do that, but I try to do that. Stacking it right in the morning, if you can, it's gonna give you the longest benefits, because it puts so many neurochemicals into your body. It like wakes you up, makes you sharp, and the earlier in the day you can do that, the more of that you can use. You get the mood boost. There is one quote that says, exercise is taking like a Zoloft, like an antidepressant, and like Ritalin, because it improves not only your mood, it improves concentration, physical energy, so can be really good. If you crash after exercise, if you're like, oh my God, I do exercise, I can't work, I've had that on some days, that's annoying, especially when you do it in the morning. But that might be that your nutrition is off, maybe you're over exercising, and this is getting a bit detailed, I'm aware. But if you have that problem, right, if you're exercising too hard, not enough rest days, or you're eating a lot of carbs maybe, right? Or maybe you need to have something before you exercise, you can experiment with that, right? Maybe your blood sugar is crashing, whatever diet you have. Like, there's a lot of variables there, but these are huge. And then the other biggie, sleep. Like, we've kind of touched on that, but what can you do to optimize your sleep, basically? Like getting a regular sleep routine locked in, prioritizing your growth over entertainment in the evening, for example, like realizing your potential over being entertained. There's one quote there, Brian Johnson, he talks a lot about that, not the nighttime erection, Brian Johnson, influencer type of person who's great ideology, let's call it an ideology, great approach, I think, to living healthy, right? Zero movement, live forever. But the Brian Johnson with an I, like I, not with a Y, he's got the whole dial in your fundamentals? What can you do to get to a peak performance level with the physical body, right? You take care of your physical body first. If you have depression, if you have mood stuff going on, what can you do on the physical energy? Really dial in that energy so that you're bright, that you're sharp, that your body is in balance. And then a lot of the mental problems, and I found that to be true, a lot of the mental problems, they take care of themselves when you do that. So yeah, definitely the sleep, you can read up on sleep. I'd actually recommend a video by Brian Johnson with the Why. He talks about his sleep protocol. He has a great sleep protocol. Like when he eats very early, no evening snacking, lowers the resting heart rate at night, lower resting heart rate, deeper sleep, deeper regeneration at night. It's pretty amazing to dial that in, to work on that. And for all the stuff I gave you, I'll just give you one tip that has really helped me. And that is just to reflect when you make a change, to see how does that change affect me. You're changing your diet and then start writing down, okay, today I ate late, I slept really shitty, I felt tired in the morning. And when you write that down and you make that mental connection, then real behavior change can happen, because you're like, no, I don't like this. And on another day, you're like, I didn't eat late, went to bed on time. I felt like amazing in the morning. I felt so much energy, felt really, really great. I was creative, I was productive. And when you start noticing that and you write it down, it solidifies those learnings. Like when I coach people, always at the end of the session, I'm always asking them, what was the biggest learning for you that you take from that session? And I let them give that back to you. Ideally, write it down, right? And then what do you want to implement from that in your own life? Last thing I will leave you with, because I work for a long time now with people on their habits and identity level change, like people moving into working for themselves, cleaning up their habits, cleaning up their diet, cleaning up their exercise, starting to exercise. And that is the identity, right? James Clear talks about that, atomic habits. Identity and habits are connected, but I feel that identity even is the stronger. If they're like brothers or sisters, then identity is the stronger one, or if it's girls, it's the more beautiful one, or whatever, the smarter one, whatever you want to call it, right? Is more powerful. Like identity is huge. When you can get clarity about who you aspire to be, who that person is, and then you connect the habits with that, you have a big reason to make a change in your behavior, because that's who I want to be. And you can compare that, you can contrast your existing behavior with that ideal, with that vision, identity that you have of yourself, and then you can start tweaking it and take in the feedback, right? Because if you write it down, if you do it once a day, even once a week, you write, this worked, this didn't work, and this is what I want to change. This is how I want to approach the next week differently. You're starting to get into an upward spiral. You're learning, you're growing, and that's ultimately the most important, not short-term goals. It's getting into a process of continuous improvement, and that is going to take you very far. And that has certainly helped me completely change certain areas of my life, and it's something I'm still applying, and I think it's one of the most valuable concepts to get into this state of learning, state of growth, into this process of improvement. And identity and consistently checking in and recording, okay, this is the progress, this worked, this didn't work, is what enables this upward spiral. So I hope that was useful to you. It's a very sunny day today. I was out with my son swimming and doing some fun things. It's very, very hot. The sun is very strong. Summer is here. I hope you're having an amazing day. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Take care. Enjoy.